Steve Cooper, Rank Success, and this is another short video in relation to helping you as an aspiring officer prepare for promotion to Sergeant, Inspector or Chief Inspector. And one of the key points I want to bring up in this particular video is structure. Now, I have talked about structure before, but had a lot of contact lately, a lot of discussions with officers lately around the issue of structure. Now, when it comes to structuring evidence for a promotion interview or for a promotion competency-based application, it's often the case, and I do allude to it in other videos, and it is a common theme. So if you're listening to this now and you were qualified recently or you're aiming to get qualified soon, at least grab a notebook and start thinking about what evidence you've got that you can offer or put forward to support or make the case for you being promoted to the rank that you aspire to. It's very, very difficult when push comes to shove at the last minute, when the rumour mill starts, the drums start beating for the rumour mill in the organisation. Oh, we're definitely going to have boards. And these are the things I hear all the time. Steve, apparently there's going to be boards in May this year, or June this year, or July this year. And these are the people that are starting to find out, which is good. It's good that they're thinking ahead, that they're going to have to do what needs to be done. And what often needs to be done is you have to start talking about what it is that you've done operationally or in some other aspect of your role, your job, that helps you, if you like, build a case for promotion, for you being considered for the question of promoting you. So that's what this video is about at the moment. And I like to start at the beginning with lots of things, begin with the end in mind, so you getting promoted. And this is just a short video to discuss the importance of structure. Why? Because it's often the missing ingredient. So when I say that, I will often ask people, if they get in contact with me, if they've bought one of my digital toolkits and they've drafted their first thoughts, I'll always come back with structure. You'll actually see some feedback. I think one of the testimonials on my site is, I went into the board, Steve, and the thing that kept going through my head was structure, structure, structure. It's what worked for that individual in that interview at that time. So it is an important message. So just take from it what you can. And when I say I begin at the beginning, whether you have an application, a promotion application to submit in your force as part of your process or not, it is important for you to think structure and to start writing down what it is you have or what you think you have, because a lot of people are happy to talk about it, but actually trying to write it down and get it written down is a different ball game. And I'm going to go through some of the reasons for that now, and I'm going to do it by using a free downloadable guide that is on my site that you can download right now and start looking at it. So I'm just going to go through some of the points just to help. It's a mini guide to success for your application, and it involves 5 short tips to help you get promoted or to start compiling your evidence to help you get promoted and to start that journey now. So if you're thinking about, have I got the evidence to go for promotion, let's start writing it down, whether or not you have to submit an application or not. And the reason I say that, and the point I repeat this point is, even if you don't have to submit a written application, where is your evidence? Generally it's here. It's floating about in here. It's no good in there. There's certainly no structure in there. You definitely lived the experience. You definitely attended that incident. You definitely managed, directed and controlled the resources there. You definitely attended that scene to provide visible leadership for your team and for the public, and to make sure that you identified within the golden hour all the critical risks and actions that you could and did actually take. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about that. If you can't say it or write it down and get it in on an application or say it in an interview on the day. So it's no good being up here, and that's why I start off with this guide, just to start helping you get some building blocks, some structure in place, and to start thinking about the structures. So if I just look at this one, some of the points that I make in this one, to summarise the points, are prepare ahead because you can, and it's a choice not to. It's as simple as that. Understand your own responsibility. It's not anybody else's responsibility. There are lots of people that can help. Not all of those people will help. Some of them who do help, who do undertake to help you. It's still about understanding your responsibility to do the best you can to get you to where you want to be. Seek support. So again, who will you seek support from? Potentially your first line manager, a friend, a relative, a mate down the pub who's also in the job. All of these things happen, and lots of other things, but who is it that can help? Allow time. It's the most precious commodity, and that's what you're actually asking for. And treat the reader with courtesy. So I've read some drafts, and I'm sure other people have read drafts where it clearly can't be the individual's best work. Hence the term draft. I always look at something as a draft until it's nearer to best, and it will remain a draft until then. But that's just the way I think about it. So I've filled this guide with motivational quotes and inspiring quotes, because I think we all need all the push and some of the pull that we need to get to where we want to be. So I've put lots of things in here, far above the mark that you intend to hit. Energy and invincible determination with the right motive are the levers that move the world. Noah Porter. So when you aim to compete in a promotion process, it can be hard to find meaningful guidance. So that's what this video and the other videos I do are about. Unfortunately, most of us are not born with all the best communication skills in the world, and we have to work at them to arrive at that point where we can communicate on point at the time when it matters, whether that's to the public or whether it's to a promotion panel. So the byproducts of some effective preparation are enhanced confidence and self-awareness. So enhanced confidence, what would you give to be confident on the day, on your board? This is part of it. And self-awareness is a key fundamental element of emotional awareness. One of the competencies, we are emotionally aware. So there's the relevance and the typical kind of importance of it. So just moving through on some of the introduction, just reminding people that applying for promotion is a highly competitive process. Another way of saying that is it's unfair, because those that actually prepare and gear themselves up and put the time in and make the commitment to themselves generally tend to prevail. So it's highly competitive, and some people get through and some don't, and that generally reflects the amount of time and effort and self-awareness and confidence that they've been able to work on. The aim of a promotion selection process is to fill positions in the police service and to promote the best available people. And funnily enough, they're generally the ones that prepare ahead. And not everyone has to submit the application, as I've said before, but if you get it right, you're through to the next opportunity. Same kind of process. Jot down some thoughts, start working on some structure as we go through. And here's the first step to that. So prepare ahead because you can. It's the old, for those of you who can remember Blue Peter, but it's the old craft show or cooking show banker. Here's one I prepared earlier. So here's a version of it I prepared earlier. And if you've got a version of something you've prepared earlier, generally your brain is saying, I know all about this. I've been here before. I feel okay with it. And I'm happy to take on board more information at this time. So preparing ahead is about building that momentum and traction to get match fit. It's a choice. You can choose to do that today. Understanding your own responsibility. So Peter Drucker, management guru, leadership guru, says this, which I quite like. That's why I put it in the guide. Development is always self-development. Nothing could be more absurd than for an enterprise to assume responsibility for the development of a person. So again, very much a link here to the College of Policing's leadership review, and the number one recommendation that, all existing and future leaders, the expectation is that you will take charge of your own CPD, continuous personal and professional development. Is that something you've done now at this time? If not, then it's okay. It's something for you to think about. But understanding your own responsibility around CPD is really, really important. Why? Because promotion interview questions are based around it. Give us an example of what you're doing at the moment for your own professional development. How are you improving? How will you address and focus upon the development opportunities for your teams going forward? So again, this is all part of thinking about just this early part of structure, not necessarily structure for your evidence as such, but just structuring about how you approach promotion. So do you have a CPD plan in place at the moment? Because of all the masterclasses I've done, of all the conversations I will say to people, do you have a CPD plan in place at the moment? Yeah, I do. What does it look like? Sorry, Stu, what do you mean? Well, tell me a bit about it. What does it look like? Is it a mind map? Is it a bulletproof list? Is it a plan? Is it? Well, no, it's just a discussion I've had and I've made some notes. Well, that's okay. The point being is you've got to know what it's like. But in this guide, in this free downloadable guide, there's a CPD template. There's a better one in my digital downloadable toolkit, as well as a whole load of looking around that topic and that issue, because it's so important. I've blogged about it. I've called it the killer question. And I've called it the killer question because if you haven't thought about what you're doing, if you haven't done anything for your own development or thought about what you're going to do to help develop other people, then you're quite exposed on a promotion board, because it's all part of the integral thinking around going for Sergeant Inspector and Chief Inspector. Developing yourself is taken for granted. It's taken for granted you'll be developing yourself. But there's a whole issue, there's a whole conversation to be had around understanding your own responsibility to make these things happen and to get stuck into it and to start structuring your thoughts under this. Seeking support. So there's a whole theme of time going on here. Generally, promotion candidates are time poor. They're busy at work. They're working shifts. They're working overtime. They're having their rest days swapped. Not allowed to take time on card or time in lieu. All these issues. So time's really important. And when you get home with your family, you want to make the best use of any time if you aspire to go for promotion and spend as much time with your family or doing what you love, whether that's canoeing, bike riding or motorbiking. So time's really important. It's probably the most important resource we can give each other. And it's really, really important in terms of when you start thinking about structuring your promotion evidence. So your sense of urgency around the fact the board has just been announced in your force is not anybody else's problem. It's not anybody else's problem. Your sense of urgency, that realization that you are stranded, exposed, isn't anybody else's emergency. So the whole point around this is to try and get you to resonate the fact that while you can now, while it's a choice, start thinking ahead, start thinking about some of these issues and start thinking about structuring your evidence, because it's an iterative process. You'll just keep building it and making it better. But it's far better to do that with a notepad and a cup of coffee when you do have a morning and you want to spend 15 minutes on your prep for a board and then do whatever else you want to do. So there's no point ambushing somebody else. And that's effectively what you're doing when you're ready, because the walls are closing in, the timescales are closing in for a promotion process. They've announced 3 weeks. It's generally probably 10 days out of that you'll get. And you've already got, guess what, 6 of those days filled with things you already planned. So time's really important, not just your time, but the time of anybody else that you ask, whether that's your first line supervisor. If you imagine you're asking your first line supervisor and there's 5 people going for promotion, you're effectively asking that supervisor for at least 10 hours of their time, at least, just to spend a couple of hours to go through these kind of things with each candidate. What better than to arrive at your supervisor or whoever you get to ask, or who's going to help you, with some drafts where you've really made an effort and you've really thought about this stuff, and they can see that you mean it, rather than, could you tell me how I structure this, please? Because all of that's free. All of that's available for you, and that's where this guide can help. So thinking ahead, who will support you? Who is it that you're going to ask? So ask around who can help. And if you're serious about preparing for promotion, then generally people will know that and they will help you and be sincere around that. So the next point, allow time. The quote here, a year from now, you may wish you'd started today. And there's a lot of people, a lot of promotion candidates that is apt for. They wish they'd started a year ago. In fact, you'll see it on some of my testimonials. I should have done this masterclass, or I should have done this preparation years ago. And that's because it's actually quite easy. There's nothing to be worried about with this. People do this regularly. So a good promotion candidate, a good promotion application, or draft I would say, requires a significant investment of effort, focus and concentration, and the finished product is a succinct, well-crafted document or example with a clear structure and reflects the level of work that's been invested in it. And that's a good point. I can always tell, as I'm sure other people, other assessors can tell, who's put the work in. It just shines through in examples. Who's done this thinking? And you can choose to do it today. It's a choice. The last bit is a point around whatever you do present to people, treat the reader with courtesy. It's okay for you to make, if you're ever trained in shorthand or something, make notes, make abbreviations, use text speak, it doesn't matter, but never present any of that in a formal promotion application. And would that ever happen? I couldn't possibly comment, but I have been sent drafts and on occasions applications with you can just tell it's been rushed. I'll just be diplomatic and say you can tell that has been prepared under a tight time constraint with a high degree of risk attached to it. So the main point is, a lot of people think that getting promoted is a reward for your past performance, which is what you're evidencing, and it's not. They're actually investing in your future potential, and that's a key point, and I could talk about it for ages. The point is, all of these points can be started. So when I talk about structure, I haven't really even started talking about structure. I've done some other videos which you can watch on this channel around structure. So whether you use par, star, saw, Carly, enamel, that's a whole load of other works. That's how you're actually going to structure it. But starting at the beginning, some tips, the right kind of food for thought is all here, and it's for free. If you really want to hit the ground running and move well past that kind of stuff and hit the rich vein of information to really supercharge your chances of promotion, to improve the odds in your favour, and to really start moving along the road and gaining traction with that, I do have a 4-hour video masterclass. I do have digital downloadable promotion toolkits for Sergeant and Inspector to Chief Inspector. There's other free stuff that complements that, the free blogs, etc., podcast. But if you do want to download any of my paid products and be the best that you can be for 2021, for those who watch these videos from the beginning, I alluded to ships in harbour and you being ships in harbour, but that's, ships in harbour are safe. It's not what they were built for, and plenty of people have left the harbour now and are getting through their promotion processes through starting to get into some of this preparation, making that commitment to themselves. So if you're one of those, RS Guides 20 will get you 20% off any of my paid guides. I hope you found that useful, just as a discussion tool, because I keep coming back to this theme of you making the commitment to yourself to make a start, because without it you're just trying to claw back ground when forces announce a promotion selection process. So I will be back with another video, but until then, you take care.